Welcome back, YNR fans.
Something emotional is building in Genoa City, and this time, it may completely change the future of Jack and Diane's marriage forever. For weeks now, tension has surrounded the Abbott family. Secrets have piled up, trust has been tested, and the shadow of Patty Williams continues to create chaos everywhere she goes. Just when it seemed like things could never settle down, a surprising moment finally gives Jack Abbott a reason to hope again. The episode begins with Jack alone at the Abbott mansion. The house feels unusually quiet.
Diane's absence has clearly affected him more than he wants to admit.
He walks slowly through the living room, thinking about every mistake, every argument, and every painful misunderstanding that pushed his marriage to the edge. Then suddenly, his phone rings. Jack notices Diane's name on the screen, and for a brief second, he freezes. His expression changes instantly. Hope returns to his eyes for the first time in days. As he listens to Diane's voicemail, emotions take over. Diane's tone is softer than before. She admits that despite everything that happened, she still loves him deeply. She confesses that being away from him has not brought her peace the way she expected. Instead, it only made her realize how much of her heart still belongs to Jack Abbott. But even though Diane is opening the door toward reconciliation, there's still fear in her voice. She cannot stop thinking about Patty Williams. Diane admits she recently had a terrible nightmare. In that dream, Jack slowly drifted away from her and toward Patty. The image disturbed her so deeply that she woke up shaken and unable to sleep again. Even now, she cannot fully separate fear from reality. Meanwhile, Jack feels devastated hearing how much pain Diane has been carrying inside.
He immediately wants to reassure her that Patty means nothing to him romantically.
In Jack's mind, Diane has always been the love of his life, and that truth has never changed.
Later, Jack finally meets Diane face to face. Their reunion is emotional from the very beginning. The tension between them is intense, but underneath it all is undeniable love. Diane looks at Jack carefully, trying to determine whether she can truly trust him again. Jack wastes no time. He tells Diane that no matter what happened, no one could ever replace her. He explains that every moment without her has felt empty. According to Jack, the Abbott mansion no longer feels like home unless Diane is standing beside him. For a moment, Diane softens completely. It almost feels like the couple is finally ready to move forward. But then the conversation takes a dangerous turn. Jack realizes there's still one secret he hasn't revealed. And the longer he hides it, the worse the damage could become. The truth is that Jack has been quietly communicating with Patty behind Diane's back. Not because of romance, but because of revenge. Jack believes Patty may hold valuable information that could help destroy Victor Newman once and for all. Victor's manipulations have caused massive damage to the Abbott family, and Jack is more determined than ever to fight back. Unfortunately, Patty's unstable connection to the situation makes everything far more complicated. As Jack struggles internally, viewers can see the guilt building on his face. He knows Diane deserves honesty. Keeping secrets from her now could destroy any chance they have at rebuilding trust. Finally, Jack decides he cannot lie anymore. He carefully explains the situation to Diane. He admits that Patty approached him with ideas about targeting Victor. Jack insists he never intended to betray Diane emotionally, but he believed Patty might be useful in bringing Victor down. The moment Diane hears Patty's name, her entire expression changes. Shock quickly turns into anger. Diane cannot believe Jack would even consider working with Patty after everything that happened. To her, Patty represents chaos, danger, and emotional trauma. The idea that Jack secretly maintained contact with her feels like a betrayal all over again. Jack immediately tries to calm her down. He explains that his only goal was protecting their family and finally making Victor pay for all the destruction he caused. Jack even offers to walk away from the entire revenge plan if Diane wants him to. But Diane is deeply conflicted. Part of her understands Jack's frustration with Victor. After all, Victor has interfered in their lives repeatedly. Diane herself wants justice. Yet Patty's involvement changes everything. Diane begins questioning whether Jack truly understands how dangerous Patty can become.
As emotions rise, the reunion that once felt hopeful suddenly hangs by a thread.
Will Diane forgive Jack for hiding this alliance? Or will Patty Williams once again become the reason Jack and Diane fall apart?
One thing is certain: Genoa City is heading toward another emotional storm, and the Abbott family may never be the same again. After Jack's shocking confession about secretly working with Patty Williams, the fragile peace between him and Diane begins to crack once again. What was supposed to be a heartfelt reunion suddenly turns into another painful confrontation filled with doubt, fear, and emotional tension.
The atmosphere inside the Abbott mansion changes instantly.
Only moments earlier, Diane had started believing that maybe their marriage could survive this nightmare.
She wanted to trust Jack again. She wanted to believe the worst was finally over.
But hearing Patty's name changed everything. Diane stands frozen as Jack tries to explain himself. She stares at him in disbelief, almost unable to process what he just admitted. The fact that Jack continued communicating with Patty behind her back feels deeply personal to Diane, especially after all the emotional damage Patty already caused.
Jack quickly insists there's nothing romantic happening.
He tells Diane that Patty is simply a tool in a larger battle against Victor Newman. According to Jack, Victor has pushed the Abbott family too far, and someone needs to stop him before more lives are destroyed.
But Diane doesn't see it that way.
To her, Patty is unpredictable and emotionally dangerous. Diane remembers every disturbing encounter, every unsettling moment, and every sign that Patty could spiral out of control again at any second. The idea that Jack willingly placed himself back into Patty's orbit terrifies her.
Diane asks the one question Jack hoped she would avoid. How long has this been going on? Jack hesitates for a second too long. That hesitation says everything.
Diane immediately realizes Jack has been hiding much more than he originally admitted. The trust she was beginning to rebuild suddenly feels shattered all over again. Jack explains that Patty approached him privately with information about Victor's recent moves. At first, he ignored her. But over time, he started believing she might actually help expose Victor's secrets and weaknesses.
Jack insists he only kept it hidden because he didn't want Diane to worry unnecessarily. Unfortunately, that explanation only makes things worse. Diane reminds Jack that secrets are exactly what destroyed their relationship in the past. Every hidden conversation and every half-truth slowly created distance between them. Now history seems to be repeating itself again. Meanwhile, Jack becomes increasingly desperate to fix the situation before Diane walks away for good. He tells Diane she is still the center of his world. He promises that Patty means absolutely nothing compared to their marriage. If Diane wants him to end all communication with Patty immediately, he will do it without hesitation. But Diane can sense something else beneath Jack's words. Obsession. Jack's anger toward Victor has become more intense than ever before. Diane worries that revenge may be clouding his judgment. She fears Jack is so focused on defeating Victor that he no longer sees how risky Patty truly is. At the Newman ranch, Victor begins sensing that something unusual is happening behind the scenes. Victor notices Jack has been acting strangely confident lately, almost like he believes he finally has leverage. Victor has spent years reading people, and his instincts rarely fail him. He quietly tells Michael Baldwin that Jack may be planning something dangerous. Victor doesn't know Patty is involved yet, but he suspects an attack is coming. And once Victor discovers the truth, the consequences could become explosive. Back at the Abbott mansion, Diane continues questioning Jack about every interaction he had with Patty. The more details he reveals, the more uncomfortable Diane becomes. At one point, Jack admits Patty claimed she still understood Victor better than almost anyone else in Genoa City. According to Patty, Victor's greatest weakness is his arrogance, and she believes she can use that against him. Diane immediately becomes alarmed. She warns Jack that Patty's emotional instability makes her impossible to trust. Diane believes Patty may be manipulating him without him even realizing it. But Jack refuses to completely dismiss Patty's information. That response frustrates Diane even more. She begins wondering whether Jack is truly prioritizing their marriage or simply pretending to while secretly chasing revenge against Victor. The emotional pressure becomes overwhelming.
Diane eventually steps away from the conversation, needing space to think clearly. Jack watches helplessly as she walks out of the room, fearing he may have already ruined their reunion beyond repair. Alone again, Jack starts questioning his own decisions.
Did he make a terrible mistake involving Patty? Was revenge really worth risking his marriage all over again?
For the first time, even Jack begins seeing how dangerous this situation has become.
Meanwhile, Patty herself remains completely unpredictable.
In private moments, Patty appears increasingly emotionally attached to the mission she shares with Jack. Although Jack sees their alliance as strategic, Patty may already be viewing it very differently.
And if Patty's feelings grow stronger, the situation could spiral into total chaos. Elsewhere in Genoa City, Kyle Abbott starts noticing the growing tension between his father and Diane.
Kyle senses there's another secret hiding beneath the surface, and he becomes determined to uncover the truth before the family falls apart again.
What Kyle discovers could change everything.
As the episode closes, Diane stands alone outside the mansion, fighting tears while trying to decide whether Jack deserves another chance. Inside the house, Jack stares at his phone, debating whether to cut Patty off permanently.
But before he can decide, a new message from Patty suddenly appears. And what she says next could destroy everything.
Just when Jack Abbott thought the situation with Patty Williams couldn't get any more complicated, everything suddenly takes a darker and far more dangerous turn.
After Diane walked away emotionally shaken, Jack spent the entire night replaying their argument in his mind.
He knows he damaged the fragile trust they were trying to rebuild. Worse still, he can feel Diane slipping away from him again, and this time, he may not be able to stop it. But while Jack is focused on saving his marriage, Patty is focused on something very different. And that difference could become a disaster for everyone involved.
The next morning begins quietly at the Abbott mansion. Jack barely sleeps.
His mind is filled with regret, frustration, and fear about what happens next. He wants to call Diane immediately, but he knows she needs time and space after learning the truth about Patty. Unfortunately, Jack's phone buzzes again before he can even think clearly. It's another message from Patty.
At first, Jack expects more information about Victor Newman.
Instead, Patty's message feels strangely personal. She tells Jack that she understands him better than Diane ever could. Patty claims that both of them have been hurt repeatedly by Victor's manipulations, and she insists they're the only two people willing to truly fight back.
Jack instantly feels uncomfortable reading the message. The tone crosses a line. He quickly realizes Diane's fears may not have been exaggerated after all. Jack responds carefully, reminding Patty that their connection is strictly about exposing Victor and nothing more. He tries to keep the conversation short and professional. But Patty doesn't back down.
Instead, she becomes even more emotionally invested.
Across town, Patty sits alone obsessing over every interaction she's had with Jack.
In her mind, their alliance means far more than strategy. Patty begins convincing herself that Jack genuinely trusts her in ways no one else ever has.
That belief quickly becomes dangerous.
Patty starts imagining a future where she and Jack are united against Victor together.
She sees Diane as the obstacle standing in the way of that connection. Meanwhile, Diane remains emotionally conflicted.
Even though she still loves Jack deeply, she cannot shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong. The image of Patty slowly inserting herself back into Jack's life continues haunting her thoughts. At the athletic club, Diane confides in Ashley Abbott about the situation.
Ashley is immediately alarmed. Unlike Jack, Ashley has never underestimated Patty's instability.
She warns Diane that Patty tends to form unhealthy emotional attachments very quickly, especially when she feels emotionally vulnerable or misunderstood. Ashley fears Jack may already be in far deeper than he realizes.
Diane admits she's starting to fear the same thing. Although Jack insists the alliance is temporary, Diane worries Patty may interpret every private conversation as emotional intimacy.
And if Patty becomes obsessed again, the consequences could be devastating. Elsewhere, Victor Newman begins piecing together clues about the growing threat around him. Victor notices unusual tension inside the Abbott family and senses Jack is hiding something major. Michael Baldwin quietly advises Victor to stay cautious because emotional desperation often pushes people toward reckless decisions.
Victor agrees.
He suspects Jack is planning revenge, but he still doesn't know Patty is involved.
And once he finds out, Victor may decide to strike first. Back at the Abbott mansion, Jack finally reaches out to Diane again. This time, he's completely honest. Jack admits he's starting to realize Patty may be emotionally attached to him in ways he never intended.
He confesses that he tried to ignore the warning signs because he was too focused on bringing Victor down. Diane listens carefully, but her concern only grows stronger.
She asks Jack a painful question. What happens if Patty refuses to let go? Jack doesn't have an answer. That silence terrifies Diane more than anything else. For the first time, Jack openly admits he may have underestimated Patty's emotional state. He never imagined she would start viewing their partnership as something personal.
Diane urges Jack to cut all ties with Patty immediately before things spiral completely out of control.
Jack agrees. At least, that's what he intends to do.
But before Jack gets the chance, Patty suddenly arrives at the Abbott mansion unannounced.
The moment Diane sees Patty standing at the door, the atmosphere becomes explosive. Patty appears calm on the surface, but there's an unsettling intensity in her eyes.
She tells Jack she has urgent information about Victor, information that could finally destroy him for good.
Diane immediately demands that Patty leave. However, Patty barely acknowledges Diane's presence. Instead, her attention remains completely fixed on Jack.
The situation grows increasingly uncomfortable as Patty speaks directly to Jack as though they share some deep personal bond.
Diane notices the emotional tone instantly, and her worst fears begin feeling real.
Jack attempts to diffuse the tension by insisting the meeting is inappropriate and needs to end immediately.
But Patty suddenly becomes emotional.
She accuses Diane of trying to separate two people who actually understand each other. Patty insists Jack needs someone who truly supports his fight against Victor instead of constantly judging him.
Diane is horrified.
Jack immediately shuts Patty down and firmly tells her their relationship is purely strategic and officially over.
For a brief moment, Patty's expression changes completely.
The rejection hits her hard.
And viewers can instantly see the emotional instability returning.
Patty quietly stares at Jack with heartbreak and anger mixing together in dangerous ways. Without another word, she slowly leaves the mansion. But as she walks away, her expression suggests the story is far from over. Inside the mansion, Diane turns to Jack with fear written all over her face. Because now they both understand the terrifying truth.
Patty Williams is no longer just a problem. She's becoming a serious threat.
Genoa City is becoming more dangerous by the minute, and now Jack Abbott may be losing control of a situation that's spiraling faster than anyone expected. After Patty Williams' emotional confrontation at the Abbott mansion, the tension surrounding Jack and Diane reaches an entirely new level. What started as a secret revenge alliance against Victor Newman is quickly transforming into a psychological nightmare.
And the worst part?
Victor is finally starting to uncover the truth. The episode opens at Newman Enterprises, where Victor sits quietly in his office reviewing information gathered by Michael Baldwin. Although Victor still doesn't know every detail, he's beginning to suspect that Patty Williams has somehow re-entered Jack Abbott's world.
At first, Victor almost laughs at the idea.
To Victor, Patty has always been unpredictable, emotionally unstable, and impossible to control.
The thought that Jack would willingly involve her in any kind of plan seems reckless even by Abbott standards.
But then Victor's expression changes. Because if Jack truly made contact with Patty again, it means one thing: Jack is desperate.
And desperate people are capable of dangerous mistakes.
Victor immediately orders Michael to dig deeper.
He wants every detail about Patty's recent movements, phone calls, and connections inside Genoa City.
Victor's instincts tell him something explosive is developing behind the scenes.
Meanwhile, at the Abbott mansion, Diane remains deeply unsettled after Patty's sudden visit.
She cannot stop replaying Patty's behavior in her mind.
The intense way Patty looked at Jack made Diane realize this situation is far more emotional than Jack originally believed. Diane warns Jack again that Patty isn't someone who simply walks away after rejection. Patty becomes emotionally attached, obsessive, and unpredictable when she feels abandoned. Jack finally admits Diane was right from the beginning. He confesses that he ignored the warning signs because he became too consumed with taking Victor down. Jack wanted revenge so badly that he convinced himself he could manage Patty without consequences. Now he understands how dangerous that assumption truly was. Diane appreciates Jack's honesty, but fear still hangs heavily between them. For the first time, Diane openly questions whether Victor revenge is even worth continuing anymore. She tells Jack their marriage should matter more than defeating Victor Newman. Jack agrees emotionally. But privately, part of him still burns with anger toward Victor. Elsewhere, Patty's emotional state continues deteriorating rapidly. Alone in her apartment, Patty obsessively replays her final conversation with Jack. She focuses on every word, every expression, and every moment he defended Diane instead of her. The rejection devastates her. In Patty's mind, Diane stole Jack away from someone who truly understood him. As her thoughts spiral deeper, Patty starts convincing herself that Diane is manipulating Jack emotionally. She believes Diane is poisoning Jack against her and destroying the powerful connection they supposedly shared. That belief becomes increasingly dangerous. Patty suddenly decides she cannot simply disappear from Jack's life. Not anymore. Across town, Kyle Abbott begins noticing the growing emotional tension between his father and Diane. Kyle senses they're hiding something major, especially after seeing how shaken Diane has become lately. Eventually, Kyle confronts Jack directly. At first, Jack tries avoiding the conversation. But Kyle refuses to back down. He reminds his father that secrets nearly destroyed the family before, and hiding the truth again will only make things worse. Finally, Jack tells Kyle everything. The moment Kyle hears Patty's name, he's stunned. Kyle cannot believe Jack secretly involved Patty in a revenge scheme against Victor. Even worse, he becomes furious learning Diane was dragged into emotional chaos because of it. Kyle immediately sides with Diane. He warns Jack that Patty's instability makes her impossible to predict. According to Kyle, the situation has already crossed the line from risky to dangerous. But then Kyle says something surprising. He offers to take over the fight against Victor himself. Kyle insists Jack should focus entirely on repairing his marriage before it's too late. He believes the Abbott family can still challenge Victor without Patty being involved at all. Jack begins seriously considering the idea. Meanwhile, Victor finally receives confirmation that Patty has indeed been meeting with Jack privately. Victor is furious. Not because he fears Patty personally, but because he recognizes the emotional volatility surrounding her. Victor understands that unstable emotions often create collateral damage, and that chaos could eventually impact the Newman family too. Victor decides he cannot wait any longer. He plans to confront Jack directly. Back at the Abbott mansion, Diane starts softening toward Jack again after seeing his genuine regret. She can tell he never intended to hurt her emotionally. More importantly, Jack finally seems willing to prioritize their marriage over revenge. For the first time in days, the couple shares a quiet emotional moment together. Jack promises Diane that nothing matters more than rebuilding their future. He swears Patty is officially out of his life forever. Diane wants desperately to believe him. But before their reconciliation can continue, someone knocks at the front door. Jack opens it and immediately freezes. Victor Newman is standing there. The tension becomes unbearable instantly. Victor calmly walks inside, his eyes locked directly on Jack. Diane can already sense the confrontation about to explode. Victor wastes no time. He tells Jack he knows everything about Patty. Jack's face drops. Victor accuses him of using a mentally unstable woman as a weapon for revenge. According to Victor, Jack's obsession with destroying him has now endangered everyone around them. Jack fires back immediately, blaming Victor for years of manipulation and emotional destruction inside the Abbott family. The argument escalates fast. Diane desperately tries calming both men down, but neither is willing to stop. Then Victor delivers a chilling warning.
He tells Jack that Patty Williams is not someone who simply disappears after emotional rejection. Victor warns that if Patty feels cornered or betrayed, nobody in Genoa City will be safe from the fallout. And judging by Patty's current mental state, Victor may be absolutely right. The emotional war surrounding Jack Abbott, Diane Jenkins Abbott, Victor Newman, and Patty Williams is finally reaching a breaking point, and by the end of this shocking chapter, nothing in Genoa City may ever feel safe again. After Victor Newman's explosive confrontation at the Abbott mansion, tension spreads across the entire family. Victor's warning about Patty's instability leaves Diane visibly shaken, while Jack struggles to accept how badly the situation has spiraled out of control. For the first time, even Jack cannot deny the terrifying truth anymore. Patty Williams has become emotionally unpredictable again. And now everyone around him may be paying the price. The episode begins the morning after Victor's confrontation. Inside the Abbott mansion, the atmosphere feels heavy and emotionally exhausted. Jack barely speaks as he sits alone thinking about every mistake that led to this moment. He remembers the first time Patty approached him about Victor. At the time, Jack convinced himself he could keep the situation under control. He believed Patty simply wanted revenge against Victor, just like he did. But somewhere along the way, emotions became tangled with obsession, and now the consequences are becoming impossible to contain. Diane quietly enters the room. Despite everything that happened, the pain in Jack's face affects her deeply. Diane still loves him, maybe more than ever, but she's terrified that Patty's instability could destroy their lives completely. Jack finally admits something he's been avoiding. He tells Diane that Victor may have been right. Not about everything, but about Patty being dangerous once emotionally rejected. Diane listens silently as Jack confesses how guilty he feels for ignoring the warning signs. He never intended to manipulate Patty emotionally, but he now realizes that giving her attention, trust, and private meetings may have unintentionally encouraged her attachment. The realization devastates him. Diane slowly sits beside Jack and reminds him that what matters now is fixing the damage before someone gets hurt. She tells him revenge against Victor is no longer important compared to protecting their family. For once, Jack fully agrees. He officially decides to walk away from the entire revenge plan. No more secret meetings. No more Patty alliances. No more obsession with Victor Newman. Jack promises Diane that rebuilding their marriage is now his only priority. The emotional moment brings them closer than they've been in weeks. Diane finally sees the sincerity in Jack's eyes again. For the first time since this nightmare began, hope starts returning to their relationship. But outside the Abbott mansion, Patty is already spiraling deeper into emotional instability. Alone and heartbroken, Patty convinces herself that Diane manipulated Jack into abandoning her. In Patty's mind, Diane once again destroyed her chance at happiness. The emotional rejection becomes unbearable. Patty starts reliving painful memories from her past: betrayal, abandonment, heartbreak, and loneliness. Those emotions slowly blend together until her thoughts become increasingly irrational. At one point, Patty stares at old photos connected to Jack and the Abbott family. Her expression shifts between sadness and anger so quickly that even she seems unable to control it anymore. Then Patty makes a dangerous decision. She decides she needs to speak to Jack one final time. Meanwhile, Victor Newman continues monitoring the situation carefully. Although Victor enjoys seeing Jack struggle emotionally, even he recognizes the potential danger Patty now represents. Victor privately tells Michael Baldwin that emotionally unstable people become most dangerous when they believe they have nothing left to lose. Michael agrees. Both men suspect Patty may become desperate enough to confront Jack again very soon. Back at Jabot, Kyle Abbott starts stepping into a larger leadership role after Jack temporarily pulls away from the Victor conflict. Kyle understands that his father's marriage must come first now, even if Victor continues pressuring the Abbott family. Kyle promises Diane that he'll help protect the family moving forward. Diane appreciates Kyle's support, but deep down, she still fears the situation with Patty is far from over. That fear becomes reality later that evening. As Jack and Diane finally begin reconnecting emotionally during a quiet dinner together, the doorbell suddenly rings. Jack answers the door expecting Kyle.
Instead, Patty stands there.
Her appearance immediately sends tension through the entire mansion.
Patty looks emotionally drained, but there's also a disturbing calmness in her voice. She quietly tells Jack she only wants a few minutes to talk privately. Diane instantly refuses. But Patty ignores her completely.
Patty focuses only on Jack and emotionally asks why he suddenly abandoned her after everything they shared.
She insists they understood each other in ways Diane never could.
Jack gently but firmly tells Patty the alliance was always about Victor, nothing more. Those words shatter Patty emotionally. Tears fill her eyes as years of pain, rejection, and instability suddenly explode to the surface. Patty accuses Diane of ruining everything and turning Jack against her.
The confrontation quickly becomes intense. Diane steps protectively closer to Jack as Patty's emotional behavior grows more erratic by the second. Jack finally raises his voice and demands that Patty leave immediately. For a few terrifying moments, Patty simply stares at both of them silently. Then something changes in her expression. The heartbreak disappears. And anger takes its place. Patty quietly warns Jack and Diane that they'll regret betraying her before slowly walking away into the night. After the door closes, silence fills the mansion. Diane looks at Jack with fear written across her face. Because both of them now understand the same terrifying reality. This story isn't over. In fact, the real danger may only be beginning. Stay tuned, YNR fans. The next chapter could change everything forever.